introduction, start with the general information because you need to set the ground. You need to provide a background that is really general to then narrow it down and focus on a specific problem that you want to solve and study. And then you state your study rationale and aims. So, and if you look in a particular shape, so then it's a pyramid upside down because you start in a more broader manner to then focus it and draw the reader to the point of the study. This is how an introduction needs to be structured. So, and in these terms, so we have some steps, right, to follow. So you establish the research area, you identify the research problem, and then you mention why your article and your investigation is a solution to that problem. So those are the three steps that you might want to follow to set the reader and to draw the reader into the core of your research. And this is why the introduction has this shape, because it begins broadly and we make an example over here. Individuals differ radically from one another in the degree to which they are willing and able to express their emotion. So it's a very broad statement. It's a general sentence, but then become more specific. Indeed, the popular view is that such emotional expressiveness is a central difference between men and women, but the evidence is mixed. And then it goes even more specific, like in this study, we recorded the emotional reaction of both men and women to film. So you see that it started very general and then slowly it narrows down. To write an effective introduction, you need to be able to write something that answers the question why. Why did you start doing that research? So you provide the rationale for current study and state the aim of the study. What gap in knowledge did you try to fill by starting that research? What is the controversy that you try to resolve by investigating that topic? And then you explain why that problem is important and briefly what has been done so far to solve the problem. And like this, you start introducing the study by pointing out what is different in your research compared to past investigations. And you start, entering into more specific terms and then guide the reader towards the core of your manuscript. Most of the times, students ask which is the verb tense that I might use in the introduction. And those that are listed over here are all the verb tenses that you might want to use. So basically, present tense regards a fact or a practice that is generally accepted in the field, while the past tense is the results of an individual experimental papers. So finished events in the past with a specific time. If you finished, so then of course that you needed to use the past. But then you might also want to use the present perfect tense, so the verb have plus the past participle. So to summarize and generalize about research in the field or general trends that still stand in society, because you don't give a specific time or date. But there is also the present continuous or passive tense, which refers to an ongoing situation. Like, for instance, is being developed, is being conducted, is being studied, is something that is still going on, right? So, here are some essential things to check when you write the introduction. First, that any key terms and concepts have been defined, and you need to pay attention also in case there is a list of abbreviation that you need to insert in your manuscript, but every abbreviation needs to be very well defined in the text. So all statement requiring citation needs to be very well referenced, because those statements might not be yours in terms of speculation, because all what is not a speculation, all statements need to be very well defined, because scientific advances are based on a scientific hypothesis that has been addressed before. So, and then you need to reference those studies. The research rationale needs to be novel, and this novelty needs to be highlighted in your introduction. So state very upfront that your paper is relevant because the novelty is, and then you describe it. And the relevance and the recent background literature leading up to current study needs to be included. So don't simply cite the papers that are from this year, for instance, because there are many discoveries that as well you might want to cite that are from many years ago. But you need to be balanced, right? So you also need to give the impression that you are up to date with the current literature, and this is why citing a recent paper is also crucial, because you demonstrate to the reader that you are reading the literature and you are really capturing the last findings.